Hello, football family. Welcome into Huddle It Up Films. Today we're talking about the defensive backs. Got Clark Kent here, Mr. Christopher Clark. Introduce
Sir,
yourself to me, please, Christopher, and tell the people where they can find you.
my name is Christopher Clark, aka Clark Kent. You can find me on Twitter at Mr. Kent410.
Love it, man. I'm going to put your Twitter handle in the description. Probably add it right next to your name in the video. Do the little Cam
All
Newton
right.
right there. Open it up. But hey, we're talking about these DBs, and when anybody mentions the top defensive back units, Ravens come to mind first, and it's not by accident. I mean, it's got star power, it's got depth. It's just really a great position for the Ravens. And the one thing though is I'm glad that we drafted Sean Wade and Brandon Stevens this year because after this season, things kind of turn over for the Ravens. There's a lot of questions for that unit. Can you talk about like
Right.
the future of the DBs after this season? How are you feeling about that?
Well, from a contractual standpoint, the future of the DBs is very murky because after this season, Amon Marshall and Anthony Averett will be going into the last year of their deal. And then Marcus Peters and Tavon Young's deals expire in 2023. And Sean Wade's deal doesn't expire till 2025.
Right,
Uh,
Averett's the one that really is the one that hurts me because I love having Anthony Averett on this team, and
right,
I really think he's going to get paid some elsewhere after this year. So man,
of
his
course.
filling his role. But go ahead. I'm sorry, I just had to interrupt with my love for Anthony Averett there. That's one of my
No, it's
favorites.
not. It's nothing wrong. It's nothing wrong with that. Now, the biggest question mark is what are they going to do with Tavon after this year? Because he's injury prone, and it's like eh, he plays a full season this year, might get hurt next year. It's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, Tavon sticks out because I think it's like between 3.5 and 4 million that we can save by releasing him next
Mm-hmm.
year. And I
Yeah.
tell you the one that scares me, bothers me, the one that really sticks out as a sore thumb, like a sore thumb, is Marcus Peters, who is another
Yeah.
player I love. But Christopher, man, you saved 10 million by cutting him. I hope we restructure him and keep Marcus in town.
Oh, absolutely. Ever since Marcus has been here, our DBs have been playing with a different type of swag. And whenever it's like when he's in the game, we just play with a whole different mean streak. And that's something that we've been missing for years.
He brings that. He definitely brings that swag, the trash talk too, to go along with it, and then backing it up.
Oh, absolutely.
But just the attitude, man. Like he's a friendly guy, but he doesn't mess around, and I think he's like a perfect match for the Ravens. Where I mean, he wants things done right. Don't get him wrong. Don't get it twisted. He's not a selfish person. He wants stuff done right. He bounced around despite leading the league in interceptions for over since he's been drafted by a long shot. And I think he's happy here in Baltimore, and I think he's a really good fit with Marlon. So I'm looking at that, man. When I look at the salary cap and I see that big savings next to Peter's name, it makes me nervous because I just want him to. I kind of want him to stay. I think he's a perfect match with Marlon on that other side.
Oh, absolutely. Now, the question is, and we're going to step away from the cornerbacks, we're going to go to the safeties now. The question is, who's going to step into Anthony Levine's spot if and when he retires?
Yeah,
But you also have to look at the fact that Deshaun Elliott will be going into the last year of his deal.
there's a lot of
So,
questions. There's a lot of questions, and really,
yeah,
CoCap. It's kind of hard to not see him on this team. But when I look at it, Clark, man, I tell you, it's like you got Jordan Richards and Anthony Levine on 1 year deals. And then we just drafted the young guys with Stevens and Wade. Who knows if they might be major players on special teams? We haven't seen that yet. So like with
that's
all these DBs, you got Geno Stone, you got Ardarius Washington. There's a lot of confusion as far as like next year. And Levine and Richards, this is they're on 1 year deals. So when you're choosing between the player who you got for 1 year and a player that you could have for 4 years, you're going to take that player. If they're equal, you're going to take the player you got for 4 years because of team
Right.
control.
Absolutely.
So moving on, like, I wrote it down here. Last year we kept 9 DBs, and the year before in 2019 we kept 12 DBs. So it's kind of
Mm,
unlike other positions where you could say we're either going to keep 5 or 6 of them, or the offensive line, we're going to keep 9 of them. Like
right.
this could range. Who do you think makes this team? Who can you go over the locks, and do you have any way of handicapping this?
My locks are Jimmy Smith, Marcus Peters, Tavon Young, but question mark. Marlon Humphreys, Devontae Harris, and Anthony Avery. Those are
Okay.
my locks for the team. Yeah, I mean, Brandon Stevens and Sean Wade could factor into that, but from my perspective, these are the guys that I have making the team this year. Now, Devontae and Sean could make practice squad, but then again, injuries do happen. So we'll see.
Yeah, I kind of put Devontae on in my opinion on the outside looking in because the rookies you
Right.
got for 4 years of control. But Devontae Harris stepped up for us last year and played some good ball. Made a few plays on the ball. He's an aggressive corner, which I think fits in with our style, Chris. Like
Yeah.
he kind of plays like a Raven. He's all over the ball. He's just an emotional player, but keeps the emotions under control. Hard hitter. I like Devontae Harris, but man, it's just such an interesting thing. So that's the corners. What about the safeties? Because we kept 4 safeties last year, 5 the year before. So we got Chuck Clark and Deshaun Elliott as two. Who's going to fill
Yeah.
those other 2 spots or 3 spots?
And see, this is where Brandon Stevens fit in because he has that prototypical safety size. And Sean Wade could also play a little safety too. But I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Geno Stone and Jordan Richards will fill out those backup roles.
Okay. So that would leave. What about CoCap though? Is there room for CoCap?
Ooh. It can only be room for co-cap if there is a small number in another position group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm really having a hard time with this roster, which is it's a good problem to have. I mean, sometimes, Mr. Clark, I tell you, it's kind of easy, and you're like searching between 2 guys, and you're like, well, either one doesn't make a difference. We're gonna have to make some hard decisions on this team because we're so deep. Good problems to have, you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
I like our Darius Washington. I think he's a heck of a football player. I just, his size and his speed. It's not just the size, it's the speed where I don't know if he can contribute on special teams. But, I would think that this might be the year. See what I want to get your opinion off on this. This might be the year that we keep an extra defensive player and one fewer offensive player. Whereas before we usually split it 25 on each side and then the wolf pack is the three. Um,
yeah.
how do you feel about sacrificing a quarterback or a running back on offense for a spot with one of these defensive backs?
Go for it. I mean, what else can I say? Like with the way that our DBs have gotten hurt in the years past, we need that extra defensive back really bad.
It seems like every year, doesn't it? Like this time last year, we were talking about how dominant our secondary was, and Tavon got hurt. I think it was early in the second game. I know it was in the
Yeah,
second game, early in the second game, and then we were pulled Devontae Harris off the street. What's the other guy we signed another
Khalil
player?
Dorsey.
We have right Khalil Dorsey. We have but anyway, teams went right after that. They went right after that, targeted those guys, and all of a sudden it's like, well, what's the point of having Peters and Humphrey on the field if you got a third cornerback that's not holding up? And remember when the Steelers spread us out we had real problems because they put basically four receivers on the field, or if it wasn't four, it was three receivers in the tight end, and just
Right.
basically went wherever Humphrey and Peters weren't. That's where they went. So, yeah, could you speak on why having the depth and the DBs are important? Because it seems hard for us to keep our DBs healthy.
The DB depth is important because our defensive backs, by some way, whether it's a freak injury, non-contact injury, we just tend to lose them. And having those extra defensive backs would be very helpful. So we wouldn't have to miss a beat, especially if we have defensive backs that have been in our system and played in the preseason and know the defense. We won't miss a beat. Versus getting somebody off the street, they got to learn the defense. Nah, that's too much time.
You know what? That's a beautiful point because, I mean, we're not playing in the DMP's defense here, man. This is the Wink Martindale. You know, he wants his DBs blitzing from all angles. He wants a lot of pre-snap motion. People are really moving all over the place. You got linebackers lining up in the A gap. They're dropping back. The DBs are all over the place. You don't know where Chuck Clark's going to be. You don't know where Elliott's going to be. They kind of rotate. So you know when somebody goes down, we can't. We need somebody that's familiar with the system, and that's one of the reasons I credit Harris for sticking around on this team, is that he came right in, you know, longtime player, veteran, and stepped right in and really didn't miss a beat.
Oh yeah, it's a very tough system to pick up, especially for somebody off the street. Like I was very surprised at how very quickly Devontae Harris picked up the system. He stepped right in like that.
Earned him another year, and it earned him on your early predictions for a roster spot.
Ah,
See, yeah, you're gonna have to go back after this now and think about it. I know you are. I
yeah,
know you are.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
any final thoughts as we wrap up on just the group as a whole? What you're looking for as a team? Just give me anything that you got.
I just want the guys to stay healthy. A healthy secondary is a dangerous secondary. And as long as our secondary is healthy, the defensive line and the linebackers can get to the quarterback. That's it.
Yeah, man, works hand in hand. And you know, we really haven't been threatening people with our front four for years. Like people are worried about losing Yannick and Matt Judon, but our front four hasn't been getting home for years. We were the most blitz heavy team in the league last year and still finished in the middle of the pack. And that's a testament to the guys we're talking about today, which is the secondary. You got the turnover machine in Marcus Peters. You got the absolute stick 'em like glue, hard hitting, versatile Marlon Humphrey leading the way. So it's a position close to my heart. I love DBs. It's a certain aggressiveness and it's a certain cockiness you got to have to play that position. Because you got to have a short memory, short memory, and all the confidence in yourself, whether you're having a good day and a bad. And I tell you what, Mr. Clark, you kind of have that quality yourself, don't you?
Yes, sir.
I do too. I do too. You recognize it in people. You got. Hey, we're gonna mess up. You know what I mean? We're gonna mess up. It's
Oh
gonna
yeah,
happen. But we know who we are. We're confident in ourselves, man. We just have a good time with it.
absolutely.
All right. Well, Christopher, I thank you so much for joining me. It's a pleasure. Once we get into training camp and we start having like a daily type reviews or whatever, I'm gonna be calling on you. Be calling on you back. We'll go over the news of the day or something together.
For sure.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Have a good one. Okay, bud.
All right, man. No problem.